mean, they were of course focused and knowledgeable and all those things that a learner, that you want a learner to be, but more than anything, they were just really passionate, whether it was about a specific subject or music or chess, because we had chess clubs, or robotics, anything. There was, every student that I met always had something that they really loved.
I'm Glenn Herbert, and I'm an editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private schools to gain insights into their programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administrators. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
School is very flexible in the way that it's structured. It's flexible with their students. I could learn in a way that was best for me. Like I said, I was given some leadership opportunities. There was a lot of cultural exposure, and the sort of tight, because it is small, the tight-knit feel of the community has allowed me to like sort of carry on relationships that I built with like my teachers and my like colleagues and stuff like that outside of high school. So like I'm still in contact with my chemistry teacher, and we still talk. So I really liked that about the school. And as far as kind of the way or the things that it shaped me, I have become a more patient person because of Acadecap, I feel. Okay. Like sort of with myself, I've become patient with, my peer, like people around me, with just everything. I think it made me a more patient person, and learning isn't so daunting, like it was before. I don't approach anything and think, oh my gosh, this is not possible. Acadecap is an IB school. So there's a lot of private schools that don't do IB. So I think that's one of those things that makes it stand out, I suppose. And also the fact that it's a very, like structurally, it's very sort of open. Like, I mean, and like it's a very free flowing kind of, non-linear, non-traditional way of learning and teaching. And I mean that like in physically structured, it's a very open concept. So when you're there, you're just like, oh, like everybody can sort of just move through freely, and it's not like structured that way, And there's also the curriculum aspect of it too, like the academic aspect of it. And the case that the student is able, like they're able to mold the curriculum to the way that's best for the student. When you're in other private schools or other schools in general, they have that curriculum and you have to follow it, right? And they do that here. They just do that in a way that's like, oh, so the pace is too fast. Okay, we can slow down a little bit. Or you don't learn best by, watching or listening. You learn best by doing. Okay, let's find a way to do that. And then I just think other schools, when you have a bigger classroom, it's harder to do that sort of stuff. Okay, I would say engaging, relevant, if you can describe a person that way, genuine. So engaging because it's, like when I was sitting in a class, like say math class, right? I struggle with math. I'm not good at it. So a lot of the time when we were learning, it was not like in the previous experiences that I had, you have the teacher teaches on the whiteboard, you have the homework, you go home, you do the homework, and it's very much sort of cut and dry, if I could say that, And so at Acadecap, once my math teacher sort of saw that I was struggling with the concepts, they were able to sit with me and teach me in a way that was best suited for me. Like I'm a visual learner, so we went through like we had like chips and things, and they would draw, so I could really see what was happening. And it kept in a way, and the way that they taught it just made me like interested, like I was there, I was actively learning as opposed to like passively just sitting and trying to absorb the material. So that's why engaging. Relevant because um, anything that they do, anything that they just the way that everything that was taught, it was kind of like they have like STEM programs, so things in like they encourage sort of the tech and science, like the growth, they encourage that, they teach that, but also I never felt like, oh, I'm learning something and I have no idea how this will apply to the real world. It always felt like, okay, I'm learning something and I can see how this is bigger than just this problem right here, you know? So that was why it's relevant. And then I said genuine because they care. They really care. Sometimes I wasn't expecting that level of care where they like actively are holding you accountable. They hold themselves accountable. They make sure they're, communicating with the parents. They want you to do well. They want you to succeed. And that level of commitment can sometimes feel like, oh, I was not expecting that. It can be a little bit intense, but I am better off for it. I mean, they were, of course, focused and knowledgeable and all those things that a learner, that you want a learner to be. But more than anything, they were just really passionate, whether it was about a specific subject or music or chess, because we had chess clubs, or robotics, anything. There was every student that I met always had something that they really loved or liked, or whether it was even reading, like it could have been not even in a class thing, it could have just been, oh, I really love reading your history, and they really and they loved it, and then they were able to explore it at the school, but like for me, I really do enjoy English, so my teacher, like, in a normal classroom setting, of course you're writing papers and you're, but I think my teacher like caught on that I really liked talking about the books that I was reading, and I enjoyed that. And so we sat and had discussions, like, so they adapted, right? So we were able to sit and have discussions and feel, and I felt like, oh yeah, like I'm I'm talking about something that is, it meant something to me, and they acknowledged it, and that was really nice. They say what they mean. Like if what they're advertising, what they're saying they're going to give you, they do that. They follow through with those promises. So they're very, so I guess integrity, that's one. It was almost in the sense that like again, I'll talk personally. When I was in the about 11th grade, so there was a course where we could take where they sort of helped us kind of not narrow down, but figure out our options, that things that we could do beyond, our high school. And there were certain things that I was not confused, but I was struggling with figuring out what it is that I exactly wanted. I mean, I had a couple options and ideas, but narrowing down things was a little tough for me. And I brought that up to a teacher, and my English teacher actually, who taught the course, and she sat with me and she was like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We are going to set up meetings and like talk to people that are aware of this field. I'm going to gather information about it, so you have all the information. You can make an informed decision, or you can have a better idea of what you're talking about, right? And she did that. She took time, like things that because that wasn't part of the curriculum, she didn't have to do that, so she went out of her way to go and do that for me. And so that's what I just mean, like she didn't sort of brush it off or say, yeah, like I'll get to it, she actually followed through. And also in terms of when you first join the school, like they're not hiding anything, like, yes, like they'll show you the open concept, they'll say like this is what the school is about, and they're not like, oh, like let's sugarcoat. Like nothing was sugarcoated for me. I was kind of aware of what I was getting into. I recognized it was a small environment. I realized like there's things that I wouldn't get and things I would get, and they didn't hide any of that. So and they never continued to sort of, I never got the impression that they said, oh, you mean, yeah, I know you want to do that thing. No, we don't have that, but we'll come up with it in some way. They never did that. They were like, no, this is what we're able to do and this is what we're not able to do. And that's just the end of it. Like we don't have the number of students in order for you to create this kind of club. We just don't have that, so we can't have this club, right? So they never lied about anything, and I appreciated that because it made it easier for me to come to accept the decision that I had made. Probably it's actually the physical look of the school. When you walk in, it's a very sort of, the way it's structured, it's small, it's compact, and I think I remember, at least when I first went there, and I wasn't, I mean, I've been raised here. I moved to Canada when I was 5, right? So, but I was raised here, so I wasn't unfamiliar with the system. But like somebody who's coming from say from India, or like from anywhere else, or even kids that are coming from like public, anywhere, it's a very weird thing to first see, because you're just like, where are the walls? I don't see walls in these classrooms, so it's just strange. So I think that's one of the things that surprises people a lot. But I would tell those parents that, of course, to keep an open mind, but it's not, it actually has benefits, as opposed to, it actually is an asset opposed to like a hindrance, because it helps keeps the kids connected. I mean, at least that's the way I felt, right? It was open and it was free flowing, and you could see kids interacting from all ages and grades, and it makes it feel like it's a community. Yes, I said it's made me a more patient individual, for sure. I think I with the people that I met, and because, if you're stuck in a classroom full of really few students, you can't just be like, I'm upset with you, so I'm gonna go, or I can avoid you or something. You can't afford to do that. So you have to sort of deal with those issues. And and I just remembered of a situation in my head. And but anyways, yeah, so you sort of have to deal with those issues, and it makes you, it's kind of in a good way, almost, it kind of forces you to like understand the other person and listen and agree to disagree if that's what it takes, so you can kind of live in a peaceful way. And that's made me a more patient individual. Like now, when I sort of interact with people outside of that, I think I'm more willing to like take the extra time to sit down and listen and hear, and again, agree to disagree if that be it. But so that's made me more patient in that way. I also I believe I mentioned that it's made me it's less scary of like less wary of learning, actually. Like I used to be very nervous to learn because I was afraid I wouldn't get it, or I'd get the wrong answer, and that was really scary for me. But I think the school sort of said, it not like it encouraged mistakes, but it just said it's okay to make them. Like it felt like, oh, it's fine. It's not going to be the end of the world, like, because it was such a support system, right? So it felt like, oh, if I didn't do something well, it wasn't like the end of the world. It was just like, oh no, this person's still there, and they're still going to be able to help me out. And also academically, because it is so focused, and the material is so, it's strong, that it also gives you a good foundation for learning. So when you kind of build off of those things, it doesn't feel like, oh, I can't possibly understand this, because you have a good base. So change so here's the thing. A lot of what I would change is a lot of what the school could not control, in the sense that getting more students, right? It's one of those things where you can't force somebody to become a student, right? Like, it happens when it happens, and it happens naturally. And so not having a lot of interaction, like, with peers the same age as me, or a lot of them that were the same age as me, not even a lot, like a decent amount, sometimes felt like, as a result of that, there's a lot of social things, like the social aspect, that kind of gets lost. And I would, and so like that was one of the, so the school can't control that, right? But and again, the way to sort of deal with that, like even for any students that are thinking about is, like if I could go back in time and change something, it would be that I would try to find that social aspect outside of school, just so I had that balance. To find a lot of, like, find your tribe, find clubs, extracurriculars, all that sort of thing, and sort of maintain that, because that balance is really, it's very important. I'd say my perspective hasn't changed all that much. It's more like I've made peace with my perspective, in the sense that like even when I was in it, I often felt like, okay, this school is focused on the academics and that is what it's focused on, and there are certain things that I won't really get, outside of that. And it took me a while to sort of, because I was looking at, the glass half empty as opposed to half full type of scenario. So I think walking out of that, I've kind of been like, yeah, that's what it was, and that's okay. Like I'm not asking for more. I'm not thinking of, my gosh, this was like, there's no, it's okay. I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with what happened. I'm okay that I can't go back and change those things. So I've made peace with it, I should say. The sort of non-linear, non-traditional, it's not regimented form of schooling is a big plus point, because it's, you're able, like, again, your child will be able to learn in a way that is best suited for them, and it can be tailored to their style of learning. It can be tailored to the way they wish to learn, and they can learn, like if they were like, okay, I enjoy science and I want to do X, Y, and Z, I want more things to explore in this world, they're able to, at least they'll definitely try to give the student that, the best that they can. So it's, and that's just, it's a really wonderful thing, like when you walk in and because it makes it less about the school and more like less about school and education and more about learning, right? And that's more fun. So it makes it a little bit more fun, and it also makes it easier on the student, in the sense that they're able to grasp that information. Like it's not, not everybody is not treated like they're the same person with the same, ideologies. It's differences are appreciated, and they're, people are there to help you. So that was great, and I would always consider that a big plus point. Another thing I would say, second thing, I would say, if you're in a classroom that's small, that means the relationships that you build with your peers and a lot of people say, the relationships you make in high school, they won't last. Like, that's not a thing. And at least that's what I was told. But I have made friends and I have made relationships. Like I have relationships with my teachers now where if I could call them and I need guidance or help, they're still there. And my relationship with my students, with the other students, it's very unique, because like we both went through an experience that not a lot of people get to have, with the way that the school is structured, the fact that it's so small. Not a lot of people can say, like, yeah, there's just really like very few amount of students in the class, and that it feels weird. You become closer because you only have each other to really rely on when things aren't going great or things are going well, So I don't know, I feel like the unique experience binds you, and that's something that I still share with my peers. So the small classrooms, where it can have its cons, also has its pros, and I would urge them to consider that side of it too. Last but not least, what they will find at Acadecap are educators that care less about the bureaucratic administrative side of school and a lot more about the person that the student is. And like I mentioned before, sometimes that kind of commitment that they make to you can feel a little overwhelming because you have not made any sort of commitment to them like that. But it's really reassuring to have that kind of support system at, with you for not just for now, for the rest of your life. At least for me, if I was in that situation, I would assume it's the social side that they'd be a little concerned about, and also the strangeness of having such small classrooms. Um, and if that is the case, I would just tell them that the benefits of having that kind of education not outweigh, but they're very, I mean, it's just that nothing compares. And as far as the social side goes, there are still ways to, I mean, now I look back and think that there were ways to sort of work around that. Of course, there's certain things that didn't happen, like prom, dances, that sort of, stuff. And I'm not saying those aren't important, but I'm saying the social, like the part where, being with friends, having extracurriculars, clubs, things that you can, outside of academics, that you can, focus on and enjoy, you can still have that. That's still possible, So I would tell them that a balance, you can have a balance. Yeah, that it's going to be okay. I mean, I know sometimes it is very easy to see the glass half empty situation, but if you just slightly, look at the bigger picture, it might be better for you in the long run. And as far as parents go, I'll say this: my parents were never really on the fence because, again, I told you my younger sister was already there, so they were never really on the fence about me going. I was leaving another really great school, so the idea that why are we leaving? Like, are we leaving? Is it the right decision? So there was a little bit of that for sure, but I think at the end of the day, they were very focused on me getting like a solid academic foundation, and I think that they saw that Acadecap could provide that for me, because it was so, sometimes one-on-one, like it was very close that way. So I think that kind of swayed them. They were like, okay, like she'll have that, and that is what she needs for like post-secondary school. That's what she'll need for graduate. Like she needs to know how to learn, and she needs to know that she can learn, and she needs to have a good foundation in learning. So the school gives that, so then that kind of, that was just like, okay, so we are making the right decision, and that's good.
Okay. And what would be your one piece of advice be for a student that's just about to enter the school?
I would say keep an open mind. There might be a bit of an adjustment period, especially if you're not familiar with if you're coming from, like, say, like a class like of 36 students or something. So it might be very different. And I would say, again, if you have something that's outside of the school, like say you do a musical instrument, or say you're part of a team, I would just very much hold on to that. Try to keep that like a steady thing for you while you go through school, because you'll rely on it, and also because it'll give you the balance that you'll find that you'll start needing. Every student experience is different there. I mean, you could even ask any of them right now. I mean, we all learn in the same classroom, but everybody walks out of it with their own perspective, their own spin on how things went. But you'd be entering something very unique, something so far I have not found anywhere else in terms of, the actual physical curriculum, nothing. And if you're lucky, and I think this school really gives that, you'll build like lifelong sort of relationships, people that really care for you. And I don't think that that's a bad thing at any point in your life, to have people who are always there for you. So yeah, it's a good place to be.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.